joined by Co-Chairman Steve Irving here. Steve, following on from the statement that was released by the club earlier today, can you fill the fans in on sort of where we are as a club at the minute?
Yeah, I mean everything in in the background's pretty good. I know results haven't been fantastic, but we're in a really good place in terms of the structure of the club and everything within. So the statement was really designed to just show some support for what's going on for Douse, and that we're fully behind him. Now that's not a vote of confidence. We had a meeting last night, which was a standard board meeting, and we asked Douse to come along and just fill us in on various bits and pieces, and we wanted to show our support as a board, unanimously so, that we're fully on his side. There's been a lot of situations that have been beyond his control and our control in terms of injuries, but yeah, the results haven't been great. But look, last season we didn't start off too well. I think in the same position, first 9 league games, I think we'd lost 5, including the cup tie, made it 10. This season we're in the same position. We've lost 5 games. The difference being last year we actually won 5. This year we only won 2 and drawn 3. So we're not a million miles away from where we were last year. And look what happened after the cup tie against Beckenham. We went on to a 10 game winning streak. Ended up in the top 2 and in first place for some of the season, and in the top 2 for the vast majority of the rest of that season. So we know Douse has got the ability to do it. His track record is fantastic. He's been great around the club. He's been a breath of fresh air, absolutely what this club wanted, to get that mojo back really. So yeah, I'm probably on a hiding to nothing, because there are going to be detractors out there on social media, as they already have been today following the statement. We can't do anything about really stopping some of the people that want to make these negative comments. All we ask is, and plead with people really, to stick together. As I say, we've been through things before, difficult times, and we always stick together and pull through them, and this would be no different. And once we can get all the injuries fixed, and we're very close to that I think now, with only probably 2 still left to get through training this week, and then we'll have a full squad to pick from again. And being just after the midpoint of September, there's still such a long way to go, 37 games, and I have every confidence, and so does the board, in Douse getting us through it.
There's been comment by a few people on attendances maybe being lower than previous seasons. Do you make any comment on that?
Well, if you look at the facts, and I've seen these comments of a drastic drop in crowds and so on, the actual facts are that we are, on average, for the first 9 games of the season, we're 50, I think it was 51 higher average than we were last year. Now, yes, somebody will say to me, we've had Dover and we've had Welling. Yes, we've had Dover and we've had Welling, but at the end of the day, the average crowds are the average crowds. So on average, our attendances have held up. And if you also look at people who are criticising some of the crowds on the midweeks at 800s, 2 seasons running, I think it was 17 and 18, our crowds were 700, just above 700, 750 for Tuesday night gates. This isn't anything new, and this isn't anything relevant to what's happening at the moment. Also, don't forget, we are in a cost of living crisis, and people maybe are deciding that they'd rather spend their £16 elsewhere. I'm sure the detractors will say, no, it's because of the poor results. So whatever I say, I'm not expecting everybody to agree, but those are the facts. The other one that was mentioned after Saturday was playing Welling. We should have had a lot more people through the door. Now, in a normal league game, and it would normally be at Christmas or Boxing Day, New Year, we would have expected 1,500 to 2,000. We had 1,031. Now, for a Dartford Welling game, that was poor. But for an FA Cup second qualifying round, that was good. That's one of our best crowds for the second qualifying round in many a year. And just looking at the stats, and again, the facts are, of 86 games on Saturday, we had the 8th biggest crowd, I think it was, in the competition. People don't come to the FA Cup like they used to. So you can't judge Saturday's crowd and link it into poor performance. And also look at the results. Poor results in terms of factual results, but at the end of the day, the games that we've lost, 5 times, we've lost by the odd goal. And as we all know, it's been painful losing games or losing points in the 95th, the 98th minutes. We've also had situations of not only injuries but Brandon Barsi being away on international duty, one or two personal issues which we're not going to go into. But players who have had situations which meant that they've asked for time out, we've given them that time out, and that's because we're a caring club and players need the club's support. So, I'm just trying to put some factual meat on the bones, as opposed to, the assumptions that are being thrown out on social media.
And like you said, maybe in another season, if we had a bit more luck, those games against things like Farnborough, Hampton, Bath, on another day we come away with 9 points from those games if those late goals don't go in. So it feels like maybe we've just not really had the rub of the green. Absolutely.
People will say you make your own luck though, but those are the facts again. Single individual mistakes, late in games. You can't account for individual mistakes like that. We're not being beaten heavily every week, and as I said, I'm convinced that get all the players back and look at the players we've been missing. For me personally, two of the best players at the start of the season were Brandon Barsi and Tommy Block. They've been out for several weeks for one reason or another. You can't afford to lose players like those, particularly down the right side where we were creating so much. And the other injuries, well, again, people will criticise certain players, for the injuries they've had in the past and all that rubbish. We're sticking by our players and we're sticking by Alan Dowson, and we will turn this around, and hopefully Saturday with the start of that with a win against Tunbridge.
And do you have maybe a final message just to supporters to maybe try and get behind the team going into Saturday's game against Tunbridge?
I do, and I wanted to see a couple of the guys after the game Saturday, but they disappeared. I'd like to say to the fans behind the goal Saturday, they were fantastic. They've had their criticisms occasionally on being quiet, but they were brilliant Saturday right up to the last minute. We need all of those guys behind the goal that make the noise, the drummers and so on. They're so important. They've got to continue backing the club like that. As I say, we've been through tough times. We've got to stick together, and if we all stick together and support each other, we'll get through this.
Cheers, Steve.